Right then. What are we expecting our lineup to look like then, Martin? Do you think there's going to be quite a lot of changes from Birmingham, but not too many changes from Chelsea? And if so, what?
Yes, that is what I expect. I think it will depend on people coming back from injury. I'm not sure what Strauch and Stack are looking like now, whether they're close to being returning. They are both very handsome, yes. But I wouldn't have minded doing this after the press conference, but that's tomorrow, so we're a day early for that. But I would expect if they are available, then both of them will probably come in to this one. They've got quite a bit of physicality in their midfield, even when they are missing Kamara. But so we'll want to try to match that as much as we can. So if Stack is available, if Strauch is available, then the back line will look like what we'd expect it to look like. It'd be probably Darlow in goal again. I don't think he'll take Darlow out yet. Then we'll have Bogle at right wing back. Then can it also depend if I think most likely Biol will be able to play. So it'll be, we'll say, Roden, Biol, Strauch as the back three, Goodmanson left wing back. Midfield of Ampadu and Stack. Then I think he'll go with a forward three. I think he'll want to have some more transitional threat in there. So I'd say Okafor, Calvert-Lewin, and Brendan Aronson will be the front three.
And if Okafor is out, because we don't know yet, because he
I forgot about him.
Then I think your lineup is bang on. Other than I think Gruev will be in, and I think Stack will end up playing higher up a little bit again with kind of Aronson
that's what
buzzing around Calvert-Lewin.
That is what I'd expect too, yes.
So it'd be one or the other. I completely agree. And people that disagree about James Justin being dropped unfairly, I kind of see your point. At the same time, our fullback depth is not the best. We are looking at Sam Byram as an option, possibly Dan James as an option as a wing back. And if you have Justin on the bench, you've got a bit more cover and security there. He can play as a few different roles in that defensive unit of five. And
he can play in every position in the defensive unit. He can play every position besides maybe central centre back.
Do is central centre back, but that's not the end of the world. And we've got way better options there anyway, so it doesn't matter. Probably play every single centre back ahead of him there in that position. But yeah, you're right. So that's pretty good. I think our depth is going to look pretty decent with this game. Hopefully Okafor isn't out for long. Fingers crossed. That's the only thing we didn't mention in the news section, which is a shame. It was a shame that he was left on. I think he should have been brought off, but oh well. Based on that then, which players will cause them the most problems? And is there anyone who we also think might struggle? We'll start with the first bit of that, which is who will cause problems. I noted a couple of things while we were talking about Villa. I think that obviously I've mentioned the pivots. I'm not going to go into that. They're double pivot and how we can maybe engage them and the recoveries numbers for the opposition teams against them. That says to me, yep, that's definitely an area we can probably get at them. The other things I looked at were, if it's Watkins and not Abraham, we should dominate in the air. I do think it probably will be Abraham for that reason, because he's massive. He's about 6'4", 6'5", and definitely will have more chance of winning stuff against our three centre-backs if they ever have to go a bit longer. And the other one was, Bogard is obvious because he's a bit weak for them, and maybe we'll have Okafor available. He could be one that shines in this game. But the other area actually was centre-back, because you mentioned recently they've been playing Konsa and Torres. Now, I'm a big fan of Konsa. I think he's one of England's best centre-backs, second or third best centre-back for England, for sure, and probably going to play a big part at the next tournament as well. He's not amazing in the air because he's not that tall. He's decent. He's about 6'1" and he's okay. But the other options are where it's more interesting. You said if it's Pau Torres, he's really considered one of the weakest centre-backs in the air for his size in the Premier League. He does not win a lot of duels. He's a little bit more feeble, a bit weaker in terms of just looking at him. He doesn't look as strong as some of the other centre-backs, not as broad. If they play Tyrone Mings, that changes, and Calvert-Lewin's probably not going to have the best of games. But if it is Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa, I think that Calvert-Lewin should absolutely be able to bully them in terms of physical battle. I think he should have the beating of them, even though I think Konsa's a really intelligent, really smart, really sensible defender, does a lot of things right, very composed, in and out of possession, reads the game exceptionally well for a centre-back. Yes, but Calvert-Lewin's a lot bigger, a lot stronger than him. So if it's him and Torres, maybe we'll have some joy there, but it might just be Mings because of that reason, because he's obviously an absolute unit. Again, he's about 6'5" himself, so it might just be that for that reason. Those are the things I've got. Have you got anything else, Martin? Sorry, I spoke a lot there.
No, it's cool. I think you've covered all the areas which I was going to get at there. Just wanted to mention some of the stats behind the aerial things you mentioned there. And Pau Torres isn't that bad, to be honest.
Oh,
He's
is he
better
not at
than
the moment? I
he's
remember when
better
he
than
signed from Villarreal, it was considered a real weakness in his game. I didn't know it had continued to be something in the Premier League.
well, he's very strong when it comes to aerial. He's actually a lot stronger than Conser is in terms of the aerials. He wins. Let's see. This says 88%. That seems very high. That can't be
That's
right.
not it.
But yeah,
right.
it's definitely shown us higher in the stats as to the amount of aerials that he is winning as opposed to Conser. So maybe he is stronger of the two. But yeah, I would say that either way, I think Calvert-Lewin should be able to do well against both of those two. And as you say, Mings is a bit of a more of a bigger unit, and I think he's a more of an old school defender who likes that physical battle with a striker. Definitely is, and there'll be some handbags caused in that battle, I'm sure, if he does play. But I would expect it to be Torres because he's probably their more comfortable ball player out of there. Back three, but I do really rate Conster, the same as you. But yeah, those are the main areas. Right back would be my optimal way of getting at them. So I'm looking at Gabby Goodmanson to get into those spaces and attack Bogard. Because I would say that if Sancho is playing on that side as well, that's not a very strong out of possession side for them, having Sancho and Bogard, both their backup players in those areas. So that would definitely be the main area that I'd be looking to get at them. Whereas I think the midfield, although Luiz is a downgrade on Kamara, it's not as big of a downgrade as what you've got at right back and right wing for them.
That's totally fair. Totally agree with that. And then in terms of our game, then, and our side of things, Martin, who are we thinking is going to maybe struggle here? I think one of the obvious things is like the technical ability of some of their tens and the fact that they get into spaces to shoot from range. And we've had some issues this season with Ampadu/Gruev/Stack, like covering runners over their shoulder at times. It's not been as much of a problem in the last kind of 10, 15 games, probably because we've got a bit more stable base with that back three. Centre-backs can engage a little bit higher sometimes. Obviously, Chelsea pulled us around quite well, but other teams maybe won't. But that does kind of worry me a little bit in those zones for those players. Is there anything else other than that you think is a problem area for Leeds?
That's the main thing I'd worry about this. This was something which has been a problem for us, like you said, picking up those runners from deep and into the box. It has been a big issue for Ethan Ampadu especially. Not something which historically has been an issue for him in Championship. But you've got more intelligent players in the Premier League who make better runs and attack areas in a better way than what Championship players do. So we're going to need to have a good game from both Gruev and Ampadu to stop those players finding that space. Anytime they want to have a long shot, we need to be closing it down as quickly as we can. Limiting the space, limiting the time that they've got on the ball to pick their spot, and just, being really aggressive in those sort of situations, to making sure we're covering the ground and not leaving big gaps in our defensive line, because they will draw people over to the wide spaces and then look to try to drift one of those narrow tens into space in the middle. So we're going to need to be very intelligent as to how we do that. Ideally, we don't want our midfielders to be involved in those wide channels. Ideally, we want it to be the wide players. So if obviously in this, nominally Anton Stack will be a wide player because he's probably more of an attacking element in this game when he's playing instead of Okafor. If he's playing instead of Okafor, then it'll be him who's having to be responsible for the wide areas, and it would just be Gruev and Ampadu who have to stay central. And that is the main thing that needs to do, is to make sure that we're not giving space in those areas.
Yeah. Another area of the game which is going to be really interesting to look at is how aggressive the fullbacks are each side. Not only press, but how aggressive they get forward. You've obviously mentioned Goodmanson as a potential big upside for us. I agree. But we know how high they push their fullbacks on, but in and out of possession. And that means there's going to be lots of chaos down the flanks. And when pressing their double pivot, which has obviously had some problems, and them pressing us in those areas, if there's a lot of turnovers, it will look like a basketball match, as you said, which is kind of leading into the last question, so I might not answer that one now. Do you think there'll be any other changes to us tactically in this one in or out of possession? Do you expect us to have like a good amount of the ball here, or are you expecting us to try and cede possession to them, or is it going to really depend on kind of game state and those kind of factors in this one?
Yeah, I think game state will come into this big time. I think if I'm going to go into the final question, just because this is pretty much my answer to the final question as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go into that. So basically, I think the opening 15 minutes is very key in this one for me. Villa give up a lot of goals in the opening 15 minutes, more so than a lot of sides. That's one of the only areas of the game, like the only 15-minute spell where they actually concede more goals than what they score. So if we can score in that opening 15 minutes, we can attack them quickly, then and get a goal in that opening 15 minutes, and then we can sit in. Villa will find it very difficult to break us down. At least I hope they will anyway. I know they do have players who can yeet one in from 25 yards, but if we are clever with the way we use our players in those central areas and not allow any gaps in our block, then we can cause some problems in that respect. Against Newcastle, they got very, very lucky that Emi Martinez was so good on that day. Sandro Tonali did two players, was one-on-one with Martinez, and Martinez just got a foot out to stop it. It was like one-on-one from like 10 yards out, and so that he saved it. And that was like 5 minutes into the game. If that goal had gone in, I think Newcastle win that day easily, because then they can sit back a bit and force Villa to have the ball and they hit them in transition. So I haven't really said the opening goal much in this final question that's in recent weeks and months. But in this one, I think it really is pretty important, is getting that first goal and getting it early as well. I think the longer it goes, it probably favours Villa more than us, because they have players who can convert those pot shots into goals, and I don't think we have that, unfortunately. We do have some players who can pop up here and there, but largely we haven't got close to the level of ball striking from distance and what Villa have. So that would be it for me. The first goal and that opening 15-minute spell being very important.
And also on ball strikers for us, a lot of our better ones won't come on because Nanto's not coming on very much. Joel Pirou's not coming on very much. Those are the kinds that maybe could blast one in, but it's not going to happen. No. Yeah, I'm not going to add too much more, but the first goal, it's interesting that point, because obviously people will be hearing you say that and say, well, we scored the first goal in the game at Ellen Road and we still lost 2-1. And yeah, we did, but I don't think that was a game we were necessarily awful in and deserved to lose. I think it was probably more of a draw type of match, and a kind of weird free kick went in to win the match for them, but otherwise it probably was a 1-1 kind of game. I think the game you're kind of referring to, without actually saying it, and you've mentioned their name quite a lot on this podcast, but maybe it applies to us as well, it's the Newcastle game, because we started that game really aggressively away from home. We pressed them really high. We forced loads of turnovers. We got quite a lot of chances. We took one early on, and then it was a little bit more of a, right, we can maybe, protect this now. I think that kind of game maybe is the plan here. I think that's what we should do. I think in the first 15, 20 minutes, we need to go at them, because, as you say, they've conceded 6 times and scored once in the opening 15 minutes of Premier League matches this season, which is obviously quite big. And obviously game state plays a big part in the outcome of their matches. So get ahead and then look to frustrate and find transitional moments, look to be solid around the box, look to have centre-backs and centre-mids at least communicating well to pick up their runners. And if you do that, I think you can frustrate them in a block, because I don't think they're really good at unpicking teams despite the quality of the players that they have. So that's a really positive spin for us, in my opinion. I think we have to start well. I think we have to go at them. They probably will be expecting it a little bit, knowing that they start games quite weakly, but I still think that's the way we should be playing this one, and then seeing what we can do from there transitionally. If they get the opportunity to go ahead and then they can give us loads of the ball, it's going to look an ugly match. But what I will say, and the main positive here, is that we have said that Villa are maybe not as kind of fairly rated as the league table suggests. Maybe that is overrating them a little bit. And it is definitely a game we can get something from. I'm not saying that we will, but I think it is a game we can get something from. It's not like a guaranteed, we're playing third in the league, they've got only like 6 or 7 points less than us or whatever it is. we're going to lose. That's not how I see this one at all. I think this is one where if we can nick a point, that'd be amazing. We've already got in this block of fixtures more than I expected, or like about as much as I expected, where we've lost to Arsenal, beat Forest, drawn with Chelsea. So Villa and Man City, I wouldn't say they're free hits, but they're kind of games where like you can go into them and have lower expectations and lower pressure, and that might help us as well. So I'm hoping that all these things combined that we've just talked about means maybe we can go there and we can get up a 0-0, a 1-0, maybe a 1-1 if they do manage to hit us, peg us back one, and it ends up being a 1-1 draw. But that's the kind of thing that I'm looking at. Might not be too high scoring unless Villa score first, in which case I could see them getting a few goals and could see us getting blown away. But let's hope not for that. Anything else, Martin, or can we finish?
All good.
Lovely stuff. So then, just a quick reminder, the website for our Patreon is what?
Patreon.com/ASAW Patreon.
And again, we probably will have some bonus stuff on there at some point again soon. Just this week was a bit weird, even though I expected us to put some stuff out. But that's all we have time for today. We'll be back with a review of this game and to preview Man City, as I just mentioned. We've got them soon. And then I think it's already like Sunderland and FA Cup weekend, so it comes quick. It does come quick, all these fixtures. But for now, that's all that's left for me to say is thank you very much to yourself, Martin.
Thank you as well, mate.
And thank you to all you lovely listeners and watchers. We really appreciate your support, and have a good rest of your week and a good weekend as well. Goodbye.